ಬಹಳ ದುಃಖ ಆಯಿತು. ಇರೋನು ಒಬ್ಬನೇ ಒಬ್ಬ ಮಗ ಈ ಥರ ಕೈ ಕಾಲೆಲ್ಲ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಏನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೆ, ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ. ಮಗ ಸೇವೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
This is Mr. Anand Teertha, happily spending time with his family. They live in Mysore, a heritage city located in the south of India. Like in most Indian families, Anand is cherished by his mother and still pampered to this day, almost as he was as a child. His father, Mr. Gundu Rao, is a retired government employee. As a devout Brahmin, Mr. Rao spends much of his time in worship. The three of them get along well and enjoy evening chats over delicious filter coffee. Contrary to what we see here, their lives were unfortunately not always this happy.
Way back in 2008, December, he met with a small accident. Accidentally, it was a motorbike accident. Engine raised. He had a fall, and two people along with him were there. They got a small fractures or something. They escaped. This man is unfortunate. He was stuck with this fatal accident where he lost his limbs. Technically, it is called quadriplegia. Finally, he thought he lost his limbs totally. And I never thought on the day when I saw him in the hospital, I thought in another few hours, probably he won't get back because he had no fractures.
Doctors told him that he had damaged his spinal cord between the C3 and C4 vertebra in his neck. He was told that there is no cure and there's no hope of using either his arms or his legs ever again. Despite hearing this heart-wrenching news, the family still remained hopeful. Little did they know that this was just the first of many tragedies awaiting Anand.
So very next day I moved him to the where also his unfortunate was lying in wait for him probably. The professor had got his leave sanctioned, LTC sanctioned. He neglected him. Finally, he had it and he was advised. He was called into the room and at 5 o'clock he had promised in the early morning he would operate him and give him aid and all that. With all that, it all failed. And he gave me advice. He said that a Gandhian, you treat him, it is a tradition, conventionally you treat him, he will come back. That is what said. But when I insisted on him, he said for 22 days we wait. Afterwards, I will attend to him. After 22 days, I came back. I kept him in a nursing home. I came back to the hospital and this wheelchair on which he was there could not move into the doctor's room. And he did not condescend even to stand from his chair, move from his chair and see the patient. He never saw the patient. Probably he had hundreds of patients of this type and casually treated him. He wrote out 100 things and then advised a physiotherapy to be done, and some estimates were made, and then I was advised, as he had all done 20 days back, he was advised to go home and I should treat him as a Gandhian. So that I did. He was my son after all. I cannot neglect him. I took him back and he was a dead wood for 6 months. He was looking only at the skies.
Anand had an active lifestyle. and now had to rely on others completely. This was hard for him to accept. His disability didn't even allow him to wipe away his own tears. He was utterly helpless.
ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನೇ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಲಗಿದ ಕಡೆನೇ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಬಾತ್ರೂಮ್ ಕಳಿಸೋದು, ಮಾಡೋದು, ರೀಸಸ್ ತೆಗೆಯೋದು, ಇದು ಮಾಡಿಸೋದು, ಮಲಗಿದ ಕಡೆ ಟಾಯ್ಲೆಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಸಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಊಟ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು, ತಿಂಡಿ ತಿನ್ನಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸ ನಾನೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ. ನೀರು ಸಹ ಕುಡಿಸೋದು ಸಹ ಒಂದು ತೊಟ್ಟೆ ಹೀಗೆ ಹಾಕ್ತಾಯಿದ್ವು. ಅವಾಗ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಎತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕುಡಿಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ್ತಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದರೊಳಗೆ ಲೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಷ್ಟಿಷ್ಟೇ ಬಗ್ಗಿಸ್ತಾಯಿತ್ತು, ಬಾಯಿಗೆ ಹಾಕ್ತಾಯಿತ್ತು. ಬಹಳ ದುಃಖ ಆಯಿತು. ಇರೋನು ಒಬ್ಬ ಮಗ ಈ ಥರ ಕೈ ಕಾಲೆಲ್ಲ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೆ, ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ. ಮಗ ಸೇವೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
Distraught at having to see their pride and joy end up in such a pitiful state, Anand's parents left no stone unturned in seeking anyone who could help their son get back on his feet. Sadly, this optimistic outlook often led to disappointment.
For 2.5 years he will not get back. Slowly he will get back in 2.5 years. That is the promise made by professors. And the man who had, surgeon who had attended to him, he would not let him go to the another surgeon. That was the units. Thereby one unit is against another. I took it for granted. He would recover 2.5 years. 2.5 years I kept quiet. He was casually advising tablets. 1.5 years or 2 years happened. Some Ayurvedic man entered there, and then his condition worsened, struck by tuberculosis in L1, L2. And then he opened and drained out the tuberculosis was treated. But otherwise, but for that, he would have been not today walking in the condition you see him now. He would have been conditioned to the bed only. Next happened in 2014, stem cell therapy. One cell therapy was given, and he improved a little, but he came back to the same position. He lost his strength, and we went back. Afterwards, we lost the hope. We did not go back. For 4 or 5 years, we waited like that.
Somehow he could not get a right treatment and keep on moving doctor to doctor, hospital to hospital, and tried maximum, but result was zero. No result was come.
Ever since the accident, Anand's entire family had been surviving solely on Mr. Rao's pension as their only source of income. Just as an unfortunate accident had robbed Anand of his future, Mr. Rao's greatest fear was that a similar misfortune may befall him, and then Anand would have to fend for himself without even having the ability to do so. This thought was almost unbearable, something that no father should ever have to think of. Out of desperation, Mr. Rao turned to the only person that he knew would not disappoint him.
I was always religious, I had faith in Raghavendra Swamiji. One of our ancestors had served him for 14 years, and he had blessings. In the last, what he had asked for, our ancestor asked, whenever your people are in difficulty, they can surrender to me and I will come out and help. So I thought, why I should not? I am the one soul who had that difficulty. If this is not the occasion, when else I can surrender to him? So I thought I should surrender to him. I went there and offered seva. That is, seva is going around the Vrindavan is the seva, we will call it. In Ashtangasana, I felt about 7 days I offered like that. It will be 140 in a day, for 14 into 10 namaskarams, 140. In the evening again 140, like that into 7. So many namaskarams at my age, I thought I would not do it. But somehow I did it, and I have made it up. And afterwards suggestions came, and doctor's name was suggested to me. Generally I will not move quickly. On that day what happened, I know, immediately I contacted the doctor, and immediately he also responded.
Their prayers had finally been answered. After they looked through the information available on the website, the family was still somewhat hesitant, especially having been disappointed so often in the past.
To be very frank, I am a Brahmin. I am a traditionally conservative Brahmin. A Muslim, I am coming to the Muslim. I thought what he could do. That for tens of years, he has 1 decade he has spent. That it would not. I would not expect him to be improved by overnight. A sinking man catches the straw, Like that, I had hopes against hopes.
Expecting nothing, they booked the next available appointment.
Spoke to Mr. Sadiq sir. He gave me confidence too. Yeah, he told me that he's going to make me walk around properly. Nobody in this no doctors gave me that much confidence what he gave me. That he'll improve me. He just said, "You come down, I'll help you out to walk properly." That was the first thing he told me.
Anand and his family couldn't believe their ears. This was the news that they had been waiting to hear. But was it too good to be true?
I don't expect some miracle to be done. I knew that nothing can be done. About 10 years was there, and one of my surgeons suggested, don't believe anybody who says that your son can walk. When he said that he can walk, I had half disbelief was there. Really, I am telling you frankly, I did not believe.
Having nothing left to lose, and hoping that this was indeed the divine guidance that they had prayed for, the family took a leap of faith.
Very next day I had a very generous treatment from him, which I had not at all expected in my life. The very way I pose is the position, his position is the qualifications, etc., which presentation he did. I thought I was coming to the right place. God had given me really the right place.
There, they found Dr. Sadiq, who decided to encourage and support Anand in this ardent mission, as he had for many others in a similar situation.
When they came over and met me, there was much more in this case than any other usual spinal cord injury. One, from the social point of view, he was a 49-year-old man, a single man with elderly parents, a mother and father who were attending on to him, on to his daily needs. He not only had a cervical cord injury because of the accident, but subsequently he developed tuberculosis in his lumbar region. So there was injury after the insult, and the duration was 11-year-old. And when we did our initial assessment on him, he was not even able to sit properly. He would keep wobbling on either side. The trunk balance was absolutely zero, and his hands were completely clenched, and he had got into the adaptive behavior where he was using them as it is. He was not even able to stand on his own, and yes, maybe drag his legs a little and move around. Considering all these things, after our initial assessment, we did the blood test and the routine things which we do for the patients, and then I promised him, yes, we will do our best. The usual 3 things: have ultimate faith in God, trust your doctor completely, and yes, have complete willpower and strength to come out of this life, and we are there to help you out.
Dr. Sadiq had instilled so much hope into Anand that he and his family now started looking forward to what the future had to hold.
I feel at home in this hospital. I don't feel that I am coming to the hospital at all. It is an institution where others fail, this doctor begins. Where others end, where neurosurgeons end, this hospital begins it. It is the beginning of the end of the where hopes have ended.
Dr. Sadiq and his skilled team of rehabilitation specialists focused on every aspect that they could. His ability to walk, the dexterity of his hands, and even his poor posture.
I started seeing Mr. Anand from last quarter of his treatment. The most challenging aspect during that time was the inability of weight shifting appropriately at the time of standing and walking. My goal was to achieve the independent standing and improve the gait balance at the time of walking with a walker. Now he is able to stand independently, minimum duration of 1 minute, and the overall gait pattern also improved.
Over the last 4 months, Mr. Anand has improved tremendously. His shoulder range has gone back to full and free. The strength of his abdominals and trunk extensors have improved. He was able to perform trunk side flexion and rotation and simultaneously maintain a good trunk balance. At the end of 2 months, he had achieved dynamic sitting balance. There was improvement in his posture. He no longer needed assistance from his upper extremities for support. He could bend down, touch the floor, and again come up while he was sitting. That good had his balance had become.
As the treatment progressed, activities like getting out of the bed, which was once effortful, started becoming effortless. With the time, the goals progressed to balance, indoor mobility, and finally community mobility. Towards the completion of the program, Mr. Anand had conquered his fears and he no more needed his caregiver to accompany him. He started coming in a public transport vehicle and was confident enough to take care of his own needs. Mr. Anand's unshaken belief in himself and motivation were the primary factors that made his treatment into a great success story.
What physiotherapy I used to take is nothing in compared here. Like they are, all my physiotherapists are sweating out with me, so that I could improve more. Like they are the best.
With Anand's hard work and dedication, he slowly began seeing improvement. His daily life soon became less of a struggle, and the faint embers of hope were fanned into a brilliant blaze.
Every day, every week, every fortnight, this man was just defying science, defying logic. You know, the improvement was beyond our expectation. He not only got his trunk control, he was able to stand. His dependence on the attender who used to come and his parents became less.
What I had not expected has happened.
Before coming to Plexus, like I was totally dependent on my parents. Now I'm really feeling like almost 80% independent. I'm not dependent 100%. 80% I'm independent.
Watching Anand improve for the first time in the capable hands of Dr. Sadiq and his team, his family wondered if it was possible for Anand to regain even more of what he had lost.
I thought 52 days time is not right time. For 10 years, person who has been lying on in bed, I thought I should give a few more days to the doctor so that he may get improvement, and he should also do something. It was coming to the end, 1 or 2 days were there, but at the same time I did not want to go back to Mysore without having some improvement. Then I wrote out one letter. All my feelings I poured out in that letter. Doctor knows very much, and he immediately responded to me. That was he was almost like my brother. He responded.
Dr. Sadiq and his team were excited with the results themselves, and they were thrilled to give Anand more of their time and attention. They now focused on things that they would have never imagined when they first met Anand.
Mr. Anand had a desire to enjoy a hot cup of coffee while seated on his armchair, and many such desires guided my treatment plan. The treatment focused on normalizing his hand attitude and to improve hand functions to the maximum possible. A planned sprinting protocol played a major role in achieving these goals. The basic challenge in his case was to undo all those 10-year-long maladaptive patterns of functioning and redo normal patterns to the maximum possible. As days rolled into weeks, Mr. Anand was able to open his hands, and his grasp became more voluntary and less clumsy. Towards the end, Mr. Anand had started dressing himself. He was able to write, he was able to eat noodles using a fork, and also he was able to have his hot cup of brew all by himself. These were only some of the activities that I've mentioned here. Mr. Anand's quality of life improved, and he was able to do everything independently.
My hands were like tightened up. Today it is opened up. It was like this. It is opened up. I'm so happy with that because I had never seen my fingers opened up. Before 11 years, from 11 years I had seen my fingers opened up. And now I'm seeing my fingers opened up.
I never thought he would open his fingers. He has, when rings were given, you asked for some 4,000, 5,000. I said, how much you are going to give? Every time you are asking something in some way or the other, they are asking for this and squeezing us. I felt like that. I expressed it before him. And he was there. He was telling me, no, this is the particular thing where we get something. Oh, then no. Then I said 4,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 is nothing. I will pay it, he said. Then your rings, really those spring rings worked really a miracle, and he has been able to open fingers are opened.
Initially, he needed so much assistance. I had to literally lift up his hip and place it on the ground because his feet did not land properly and he had so much fear. At the end of the program, he achieved walking, where he is now able to lift up his hip and place it on the ground simultaneously. His ankle and knee stability is also improved, and the support which he used to take from his hand is also reduced a lot.
Putting his faith in Dr. Sadiq and his team of motivated therapists, Anand attacked each day with absolute determination.
Before coming to Plexus, like my walking, my bowel, my bladder, everything is like zero, nil. Getting up and walking is like dragging the legs, nothing else. 4 steps or 5 steps, I'll find a chair, from one chair to the other chair, shift, go sit down there, keep on walking. That is the only workout I used to do. No ma'am, I couldn't sit like this. I used to only shake around, and then he was fidgeting, like I was already doing that. Only wheelchair, and wheelchair and a hard wooden chair. That's the only place I could sit down with arms. Now today I'm sitting without the arms. My confidence, I had some confidence, but that not to that level. My confidence is so high that I can lead my own life without depending on my elderly parents. I think I can lead my life in a proper way.
ಹೋಟ್ಲಿಗೆ ಏನೋ ತಿಂಡಿ ತಿನ್ನಬೇಕು, ಕಾಫಿ ಕುಡಿಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾನೇ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ದೆ. ಆಗ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದಾಗ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ನಾನೇ ತಿನ್ನಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾಯ್ತು ಸ್ಪೂನಲ್ಲಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಬಂತು. ಇವಾಗ ಪ್ಲೇಟ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರೇ ಸ್ಪೂನಲ್ಲಿ ತಿಂತಾಯಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಆ ಥರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪ್ಲಸ್ಸು ತಿರ್ಗಿ ಆಟೋಲ್ಲಿ ನಂದು ಟೀನೂ ಕುಡಿತಾಯಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರೇ ಕುಡಿತಾಯಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪ್ಲಸ್ ನಂದು ಬೇರೆ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ ಡ್ರೈ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ಸು, ಆಗ ವೈಟ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡು ಆ ಕಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾಯಿದೆ. ಕುತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗೋದು, ಹೊಟ್ಟೆಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಬಿಡೋದು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಕಟ್ಟಾಯಿತು. ಫುಲ್ ಒಂದು 2-3 ಅವರ್ಸ್ ಕುತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಥರ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟೆ ನನ್ನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಬಂದು. ಆ ಟೈಮ್ ಇವಾಗ ಆರಾಮಾಗಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ನಾನು 2-3 ಅವರ್ ಕುತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ವಿಲ್ ಪವರ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ.
We are happy that Anand is able to manage himself his day-to-day activities like using washrooms and brushing teeth and the opening the wardrobe and removing his t-shirts and wearing back his t-shirt like that. This is the result has come from Plexus Hospital, and we as a common man we are very much happy with Plexus, and we are thankful to them and their service to the human being and society. It is invaluable and incomparable service the Plexus Hospital is giving, and we are hats off to them.
The goals were for every day, not one day. Every day goals were set, and they were to reach the goal. And doctor was always watching them whether the set goals are reaching or not. By week and week, they were improving, and the goals were set. New goals were set, and new goals were achieved. And that is the achievement, because achievements for the trainers was there because there is a master to see him. And doctor is instead of mentioning a doctor, this is a committed institution. Commitment is there. From the heart of the heart, they have got a commitment to achieve what they have promised. And they have done much more than what they have promised. And I say with all honesty, I am putting this, I have got not only the value of my money, but also the value of the humanities.
After an arduous 120 days, his life had completely turned around. He could now do things that till recently he had only dreamt of. None of this would have been possible without the nurturing relationship Dr. Sadiq shared with Anand and his family. Anand was moved by the doctor's compassion and in return showed Dr. Sadiq a tenacity that surprised him.
At the end of his program, after 2 months, the father wanted the program to be extended, and we extended the program. And right now, the status he's in is he's able to write. Imagine a cervical cord injury patient able to write.
I am drawing near to my end, but with all that, now with confidence I can leave. I have got a confidence now.
So Dr. Sir is like a brother to me, who's built confidence so much that probably somebody else wouldn't have done that. He is like a number one in this.
Plexus marks the end of his 11-year-long battle and also the beginning of his hard-fought future. He now has a second chance at life, and he's determined to live every single minute of it to the fullest.